Hey, what's up? Hello. You are listening to the TD Experience Podcast Network NFL podcast. Yes, we still have that crappy name, but we're still looking for suggestions for new names. And as always, I am TD himself, your host, Trey Downey. And as always, my co-host up in Baltimore, Maryland, Cliff Kidwell. How you doing this morning, Cliff?
I'm doing pretty good, Trey. Woke up this morning feeling great, just feeling like I can't wait for the NFL draft, Trey. That's just how I make myself get up and feel great about myself here in Baltimore. I'm pretty sure the fans feel the same way too. We'll never quit. The Baltimore Ravens will never quit. They will keep fighting, but I'm just looking for the draft, right? I mean, this is the first time for me. As a Bucs fan, you're used to this every season, but it's the first time for me, like, halfway through the season, I get to look and see, oh, college football is very interesting. I'm looking forward to draft, Trey.
See, I'm just glad and I'm happy for you and your sanity that you're taking that route instead of holding out hope that the Ravens are going to go on a 9-game win streak and still make the playoffs and then go all the way to the Super Bowl. Because knowing you, I think deep down you're putting on this front, but I know deep down in your heart of hearts, you really, even if it's just a little bit, you still believe that could happen.
Uh, as an analyst, I would like to say no. But as a diehard fan, of course, the Ravens are going to go. I want to speak as a fan right now. We are going to go 9 games where it starts at home against the Chargers, and it goes all the way. And let me revert back into this. Yeah, Trey, don't think it's going to happen. So right now, I'm just looking forward to week by week, and also the draft.
If the Bucs can give up a 24-point lead
Oof.
to Kirk Cousins, then anything can happen in the NFL. But we'll get into that. Go ahead. You can ask me questions about it. Let's just get this out of the way. Get it out of the
way. Let's clear the air in the room. Trey, ladies and gentlemen, has been joking and getting on me about my Baltimore Ravens. But Trey, you pretty much said that you dogged the Ravens for letting Kirk Cousins throw all over us. I got some stats for you. Not only did Kirk Cousins have his best QB rating has he had since this week. I mean, he had a better QB rating against the Ravens. He had a better QB rating when he played with the Bucs. He threw for 3 touchdowns and 317 yards. And to come back like that to win, yes, you guys were away, but you guys had the game, Trey. So why are the Bucs looking so like is Cousins? I'm sorry. Is Cousins, the QB of the future for that? I mean, he looks like he looks like a QB of the future.
No, the answer is no.
But
that the defense, they took their foot off the gas pedal. They played too conservatively. The Bucs had plenty of chances to put the game away. They were sleeping on the onside kick that Washington recovered, took it down, scored another touchdown. Right. I believe it was the touchdown when they made it 21-27. They used motion on that play. The Bucs secondary player ran across the field to cover him because they were actually playing man coverage on the goal line, something they don't normally do. Good call. But then he runs across and then he takes the wrong guy. He loses him in the motion, takes the wrong guy, leaves Ryan Grant wide open in the end zone. The Bucs drive down the field, have a chance, 3rd and goal from, I believe, the 2-yard line. And instead of having Doug Martin, who was in the middle of his 3rd straight 100-yard game, run it right up the middle and go for a touchdown, they pitch it to Charles Sims on the goal line, something that play call makes no sense. And also, I mean, in that situation, you're at the 3-yard line. You could go for it on 4th down and still make the Redskins have to drive the length of the field to score a field goal. And either way, even getting the field goal that the Bucs got to make it 30-24, the Redskins are still going to beat you with a touchdown. They wouldn't have been able to tie it with a field goal, but they're still going to beat you with a touchdown, and that's what ends up happening. And then we don't even get me started on the end of the game. If Charles Sims just goes down, instead of trying to lateral the ball, Brandon Marshall stepped up and called his play when he tried to lateral it a couple weeks ago, the worst play in NFL history. What Charles Sims was thinking, I have no earthly idea. And now at this point, we're stuck throwing to Mike Evans and you and me with Lewis Murphy going down with a torn ACL, I believe, and Vincent Jackson, not a season-ending injury, but he's going to be out for multiple weeks as well. So I have no idea. Jameis had probably his best game. Doug Martin had his third straight 100-yard game, had a 24-0 lead, and they still lost. Just when you think this team is going to take the next step, they are still the Bucs, and they are still coached by Lovie Smith. And after that game against Jacksonville, the fan base backed off a little bit as far as the fire Lovie Smith. But the fire Lovie Smith is even stronger now than it was before that Jacksonville game.
Right. Now there's two coaches actually. So they're talking about firing Chuck McConnell before week 10, which I thought was, I don't know how that leaked out, but that's definitely happened. And Lovie Smith is on the battle. But real quick, I don't want to stay too much long on this. I don't want to beat you down, Trey. You're absolutely right. Jameis Winston only incompleted 8 passes. He looked great. He looked well. However, Kirk Cousins did throw the ball 40 times and only drops in only 7 incompletions. How come you couldn't stop Jordan Reed, a tight end, who literally, his numbers don't really speak for what he did. When they needed, his numbers are right now, ladies and gentlemen, his numbers, I'm looking at him right now. He had 11 receptions, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. But those 11 receptions, Trey, first downs, touchdowns. He looked great, and you couldn't stop him. And you knew Kirk Cousins was going to throw to him. Kirk Cousins was eyeing the whole entire time. And you guys, the defense was no-show.
It's a factor of the middle of the field and where that defense leaves space open. And if you have a good tight end, Jordan Reed is a good tight end, and you have a quarterback who is cognizant of that. A tight end is someone who can take advantage of the Tampa 2 defense, which I still believe leaves too much space, especially in the middle of the field with today's NFL offenses and today's rules. I don't think that it's an ideal defense, but that's what happened there with Jordan Reed. Very solid player, but a tight end can really take advantage of the defensive scheme that the Bucs run. Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what? You guys put up a hell of a fight. It was a great game. But let's get to some of our other great games. Trey, we had a great weekend of football as always. It's always exciting to see, these teams that have fighting grit besides the Baltimore Ravens. But anyway, it was really awesome to see. And our 2 game of weeks right now, we're gonna start with Carolina versus Philly. Which is the game I believe
I took Carolina and Philly.
Yeah. Honestly, Trey, Cam Newton, to me, he looks great. Even besides the 3 interceptions, he has that still determination to win. We talked about this before the show. Philadelphia just can't get it together. I feel like Carolina has just more determination than they did, but Philly stayed into me. They stayed into the game for the most part. But Carolina's undefeated, man. What do you feel about the game?
It's like you said, Cam 3 interceptions. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit before the show. The game, to me, I never really thought 14-6 at halftime and then 21-16 at the end of the third quarter. Carolina only put it away with those last scores in the fourth quarter. But I'll tell you what, I never really thought Philadelphia was in this game. And I still don't really see the Eagles being that good of a football team. And honestly, Carolina's defense is good, but they didn't really do anything in this game to impress me that much either. Cam was 14 of 24 for 197 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. He had a 27.8 QBR or a 59.2 passer rating. Not good stats. The defense is really what is leading this team. Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly are possibly the 2 best linebacking duo in the NFL as far as a middle linebacker and an outside linebacker. The defense is just what's going to lead Carolina. Jonathan Stewart with a very solid game, but Cam Newton having a 27.8 QBR, that's not going to take you far in the NFC when you're gonna run into teams like Green Bay and like even Atlanta late in the season, and like Arizona, and even the Giants who can put up points. So I just don't – and Philly, that offense is still stagnant. They have found something when it comes to the sweep, and especially when it comes to Ryan Matthews. I'll talk a little bit about DeMarco Murray when we get into our NFL Halloween costumes segment that we're going to do later in the show. I got a good one right there. But Carolina's defense is very good. The schedule, not the greatest, kind of inflated. They get that primetime showcase, and they get a big win, but not super impressive to me. And this week on Monday night against another desperate team, the Indianapolis Colts, we'll see what happens there too against a team that can score a little bit more on offense. We'll see what if the defense can still shut them down, and if Cam Newton can take advantage of somewhat of a lax defense when it comes to Indy. Because Philly, the defense has performed okay, but they're not one of the teams that we're talking about as a great defense, and Cam's still throwing 3 interceptions and 27.8 QBR. I'm just not sold on that, especially with Greg Olsen as the number one offensive weapon. But if Jonathan Stewart is running for 100 yards every game, that takes a little bit of the pressure off of that. I will give you that.
Well, here's the thing. Go back to a little bit what you said about the Eagles and how they're struggling. The struggles don't commence because Jason Peters might be out for the rest of the season, which is definitely going to hurt them tremendously. They don't run the ball enough. We can honestly sit here and say not only is Lovey and Chuck Pagano, Chip Kelly may be looking as well behind his shoulder. Now, he might have an off season where he can honestly snag RG3, which I think he will try to snag RG3 and maybe revitalize that team and with the option read. But you're absolutely right. Philadelphia was really in this game. You said Jonathan Stewart. How about Mike Tolbert? Trucking, fullback, actually running back converted into fullback because he likes to eat, he says. Trucks like 5 guys to get into a touchdown, to make it 26. So you say that Carolina's not impressive. I disagree with you on that one. Like you said, the defense is tremendous. They do great. The offense has, really nobody to catch the ball. I can sit here and say maybe Jericho Cotchery maybe is one of the wide receiver options. Devin Funchess, a rookie from Michigan. They really don't have, the offensive weapons like a lot of these teams have, but yet they're 6-0, Trey. Cam Newton, three interceptions.
Who's the best team that they beat? I just riddle other than Seattle. Seattle's the best team that they beat. And you don't
comeback victory.
Yes, and you don't think Seattle's good at all. You want to look at some of these other teams. They've beaten Houston, they've beaten the Bucks, they've beaten the Eagles. None of these teams that, especially if you want to still ride that bandwagon of Seattle not making the playoffs, then
of course
they haven't beaten a team that's going to make the playoffs. They beat the Jags week 1, Houston, New Orleans, the Bucks, Seattle, and the Eagles. We're going to see. They play the Colts this week, and then next Sunday it's home against the Packers. So we're going to see. But, I mean, they haven't really beat anybody if you want to talk about that. If we're talking about in college when we're doing rankings for the college football playoff, Carolina's not in your top 4 even though they're undefeated.
Absolutely.
It's just this is not going to last. I'm telling you, this is not going to last.
And you know what? They will beat the Colts. When the Colts dropped a game, Andrew Luck does not look good. I picked him in fantasy, and I told myself, a couple years ago, Andrew Luck should throw. He throws way too much, and he way too many interceptions for me to pick him. But I took a string on him because I thought this was their season, and like everybody did. They will beat the Colts. I don't think that defense will have stand a chance, but it's gonna be interesting to see Packers and Carolina. We'll actually get to see. Let's talk about a game that was actually really good. Yeah. Belichick went into his playbook like he always does. You say what you want about the Patriots and altering rules. I will sit here and say right now, as much as a Ravens fan I am, Belichick is one of the greatest coaches to ever coach football. We can say John Madden kind of great coaching. Not only did Belichick look and go deep into his playbook to find plays that, okay, you caught us, we did that thing, let me go look at my regulations. There was a great play they threw to I don't know how he was so wide open, but it was an option. It was a not option fake right. They said I can't remember that they said it was an option fake right run play, and Gronkowski's wide open for a touchdown. Now, the Jets are not your Jets of yesterday. The Jets are a very good team with Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm, and the new coaching regime and everything going there. The Jets are a great team. For them to drop that like that, to lose to New England it was a great game, Trey. It was a great game to the end. What do you feel about it?
It was a very good game, and I'll be honest, the Jets put up a bigger fight than I honestly expected them to. I thought New England was going to go in there and win handily like they really have this entire season for the most part, but they score 14 points in the fourth quarter to win this game and finally put the Jets away. And it just was not, it was not what we thought we would see when it came to this. Yes, we knew the Jets are improved, but they aren't a team that's going to go in there and beat the Patriots, I didn't think. Chris Ivory only had 41 yards rushing, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, 295 yards passing. So the Jets put up a great fight. Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, again, great games from them. But Gronkowski and Brady are Gronkowski and Brady. It is, they are who we thought they were, to take a line from Dennis Green. You know what? Tom, I didn't even know this till just now looking at the stats from this game. Tom Brady was the leading rusher for the Patriots, and they still win this football game. Yeah. It's just ridiculous what they're doing. Brady, 4 rushes for 15 yards. LeGarrette Blount had 3 rushes for -3 yards, and the Patriots still find a way to win this game. The defense, stopped the run a lot for the most part when it came to Ivory. So they had to throw the ball. They did do a good job of throwing the ball. Like I said, Fitzpatrick, 295 yards. But in the end, the Patriots pull out this one. And, the Patriots are 6-0. And I talked about not believing in Carolina. I don't know how you can't believe in the Patriots at this point.
Even your biggest hater, Trey, can literally say the Patriots are one of the best teams that we ever see. Tom Brady could be the best quarterback ever play football. If Tom Brady wins the season and gets another Super Bowl, we're looking at the only quarterback with 5 rings, and he's been through all of them. Yeah, we can say Drew Bledsoe led them to their first one, but ever since Tom Brady took it over at helm, we can talk about the cheating, we can talk about the flag gate and all that stuff. They've played Tom Brady. When they were talking about the Flaggate trade last year, they said was Tom Brady playing like that the whole entire season. Now that we know that the balls are being checked, everything's being analyzed, the Patriots are on a magnifying glass, they're undefeated right now. And they're winning not close games, but good games. We can sit and say that, if Brandon Marshall wasn't offsides, could this game have gone for hell? But that was a Hail Mary pass. And we both know that a Hail Mary pass is like a pre-play to God that we catch this ball. So the Patriots are looking outstanding right now. Even with the flag gig, they would be my most impressive. But Trey, like you said, we are who they thought they were. They're winning in ways. Belichick, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach football. It's just great all around football.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots are right there with Denver, with Green Bay as the best team in the NFL. And, they're better than I thought they were even going to be this season, because I said that there was going to be issues when it came to their secondary, and they've proved me wrong. And they sold out this week to cover the run, and it worked. And scoring those two big touchdowns in the fourth quarter to, take the lead and on the Amendola touchdown, and then the Gronkowski touchdown, which basically put the game away. Yes, the Jets did come back and get a field goal really quickly, and then to try and get the ball back to score a touchdown and win the game. But, early in the fourth quarter, the Jets had this lead. They had the lead going into the fourth quarter by 1 point, and the Patriots come back and do it just like they did in the Super Bowl. And Tom Brady is Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, and this is a team that is not going away anytime soon. It's going to be interesting to see them play a very hot team in the Miami Dolphins, and we can transition from there into those were our most intriguing games of the week last week. We can get into what our best and worst, most impressive, least impressive was last week, and my most impressive is the team. You always, you get right into that microphone. You go. One of your favorite things to say is, Dolphins fans, you suck. You suck. You suck. They don't. The Dolphins, under Dan Campbell, 2 games, 2 wins. And Houston, you can say what you will about the Texans this season, but they put an absolute whooping on the Houston Texans. Ryan Tannehill setting records. I mean, scoring 49 points, which is not something that you're going to see every day in the NFL. Houston put up some points late, but that game was out of hand early. Lamar Miller with a stellar game. He went nuts. Tannehill went nuts. The stats for them running the football, the percentage of plays is much higher with Campbell as the head coach. And we thought this team was dead in the water a couple of weeks ago when, they made that coaching change from Joe Philbin to Dan Campbell. And this is one of those times. A lot of times it doesn't work out when you change coaches in the middle of the season, but this looks like it could possibly work out, and it could possibly save the Dolphins season. And to me, these first 2 weeks of the Dan Campbell era have been extremely, extremely impressive. And last week, the Dolphins were my most impressive team in the NFL.
Ladies and gentlemen, fans from all over who actually listen to us, we appreciate you. I'm gonna take time to actually talk to the Dolphins fans. How you doing, Dolphins fans? This is coming from a strong place with me. When I say something, I'll stick to it. I've always said Seahawks were gonna make the playoffs. I stuck to it. I said Ravens gonna make the playoffs. I'm sticking to it. However, I owe you an apology. Miami, I've dogged you all season. I've said that you have a wide receiver throwing passes out there, and he puts up a tremendous game. Trey, he had one completion and 4 touchdowns. Now,
it was 41-0 at halftime, and I said 49 points. They scored 44 points. Same old. I mean, when you're scoring that many points, it really doesn't matter. So, the Dolphins, 44-26, Houston putting up 26 points in the second half to make it look somewhat respectable. But when in all honesty, it wasn't whatsoever. It was just ridiculous what they did. And at home, too. 18 of 19 for Tannehill. Crazy.
And let's just talk about these great LSU wide receivers we got the same year of the draft. Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham have really changed the face. Now, Jarvis Landry didn't have a great season last year like Odell Beckham did because he was hurt. But now, Trey, he made a cut. He was going full speed, out of bounds, caught the ball, stopped, juked one guy, ran. Brian Cushing, by the way, is a lazy. When he got found out that he was cheating for, taking steroids, and now he's cleaned up himself. We thought the great Brian Cushing came out with the Clay Matthews and Ray Malalugas. He's just been trash. Stopped. He juked Brian Cushing right out there and goes for a touchdown. Ran 106 yards to make that touchdown. You know what, Dolphin fans? You are looking great. You're looking good. You're finally clicking. Maybe that coaching change was a great way to go, Trey. And we could be sitting here talking about one of these interim coaches, like, the great Aries for the Cardinals, who was Bruce Arians. Yeah, who was an intern for Chuck Pagano when he was down with cancer, and coming in and owning the team. And I think this is the team that he will stay in. And I love when he said, listen, he literally came in and said, listen, we're a good team. We're a good team. We got some pieces here. However, we had to do some few changes. He was talking about that coaching change. The players love him. He's a player's coach, so I've heard. Dolphins, you're clicking in all cylinders. I want to see what you guys can do from here on. And honestly, you're not a bad team. You're a really good team.
See, Cliff, when he gets proven wrong, he can, he can eat some crow. And I'll tell you what, Cliff wanted to make the Dolphins his most impressive team this week, but I already had
Yeah,
them. I already
I
had
did.
them pegged as mine. So Lamar Miller, he had
Yes.
175 yards on 14
Ah,
carries. That's crazy.
Trey, I'm 6-0 in my other. I'm 6-0 in my other fantasy. He made me 6-1. Just had a tremendous game.
It was ridiculous. Did you have anything else that caught your eye as far as being super impressive to you this past weekend, Cliff?
You know what? Like Trey said, me and Trey both agreed that the Dolphins were our most impressive team. But I did some digging because I had to come up with something else. Like that's what we do here. We want to, not we all know the obvious, but we want to give you something, a little insight into things here at the TD Experience. We want to, please, ladies and gentlemen, please call in. We need to change our name. We are ready. This we love you guys. Appreciate you guys listening and everything like that. But help us out. Be fans and change our name. But I digress, Trey. Another game, Trey, that I actually looked into and dug in deep. The Jags. You know, they are looking very impressive. Now they're not having they don't have a winning record, but they beat one of the teams that we thought that was going to win the division or have a fighting chance against the Jets and the New England Patriots. And they go one and drop one. Yeah, it's at Jacksonville, but it's Jacksonville. My grandmother can win in Jacksonville. She's dead. But just saying, Jacksonville looked very impressive. Been one of the first games that was broadcast all internet, was streamed all the way. And if you want to talk about the games that look good and put an interest and idea in your mind, that's the game to look at. The Bills struggled the whole entire way. To be honest, Jags had this game won, but the Bills were kept fighting and fighting and fighting. EJ Manuel looking like a great quarterback, which he even did. He didn't even look like that at FSU. EJ Manuel looked great in that game. The Bills were trying to fight and scratch their way back into it. But your UCF boy, Blake Bortles, looks great, throws the ball on a run for a touchdown. Trey, that game can start a wave of something new. It was all broadcast on internet, on Yahoo. So this is when you bring something new in, you want to have a test game. And when you look at it on paper, Jags and Bills, okay, Bills are going to blow them out, but we have a great game. It only ended in 3 points. Trey, are we looking at the new future of football?
I mean, I called it last week when we did our Back to the Future that we're going to see more of this. I mean, the Jags were impressive. They got a big win, and they needed it to save Gus Bradley's job. I will say this, EJ Manuel, rough start to that game. He did improve as the game went on. Yes. They had to come back. But you got to take this with a grain of salt when it comes to the Jags. This is a Bills team with no Tyrod Taylor, no Sammy Watkins, and no Percy Harvin. Other than LaShawn McCoy, probably their 3 best offensive weapons right there. So take a step back. Let's take a step back a little bit. Bortles really improved. That game that he had against the Bucs was very impressive as well. So I'll tell you what, the Jags, they needed this win to save Gus Bradley's job, and they pulled it out. They gave up a huge lead, but they came back. They stayed together, and possibly if the Jags would have ended up losing that game, they would be possibly our least impressive, along with, we already talked about the Bucs, so we're not going to talk about them when it comes to least impressive, but giving up a huge lead like that, that's something that you can't do in the NFL. The Jags stayed composed, and they won that football game. But now we're going to get a little bit negative here before we get into some really positive things with our NFL Halloween costumes. But I'll talk about my least impressive worst of the week, and it's Colin Kaepernick. A lot of people have already forgot about that Thursday night game last week. Wasn't the greatest game ever. 20-3 win for Seattle in San Francisco. I watched a lot of that game. Colin Kaepernick looked horrible. Half of the time he's sailing balls completely over a guy's head. I don't know where he's going with the football. This is not the guy that took over for Alex Smith when he got injured and led them to that Super Bowl against the Ravens. This is something else. And, at the beginning of the season we saw it, but then he came back and had another good game. This game, 13 of 24 for 124 yards. Not good. Carlos Hyde, 11 carries for 40 yards. Not good. Seattle's defense really just stifled that San Francisco offense. And yes, the coverage was tight, but at the same time, Kaepernick sailed more throws than I've really seen in an NFL game. He just looked bad. He did not look composed. And I talked about it before. We talked about it with Tannehill and Kaepernick possibly as guys who could be on their way out because of the way that their contracts are structured. Tannehill steps up, has an amazing game. Kaepernick, just horrible. And the stats they're not good. 13 of 24 for 124 yards. They don't look as horrible as he looked on the field. He just did not look like a competent NFL quarterback at all to me. So Colin Kaepernick, that's my least impressive from week 7.
I couldn't disagree with you agree with you anymore, Trey. Colin Kaepernick has looked very, very bad. I mean, even though a stellar game against the Ravens, but when an injured secondary like that, you expect to do well for going against the Baltimore Ravens. But what happened to this guy? Stepping in for Alex Smith, going to Super Bowl, winning those games to getting into the playoffs. He looked great. He looked stellar. He looked so good. New coaches, knew everything. But we thought after that Minnesota game, we both said it, that San Francisco was on its way. And I even said San Francisco was going to compete to win that division. I believe I said that they were going to win the division, actually.
You did.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to Colin Kaepernick of old, but now we're getting into the end of the season to see where the 49ers are in that division. And you really can't say what Arizona doing so well, and the Rams actually on the helms, and of course Seattle Seahawks still were good, but not going to playoffs, but still good. You start talking about what do we do now? Kaepernick's season has looked so bad. What do we do now? So that's one question that's actually probably in a loop in those owners and executives over there making moves for the 49ers is like, what do we do now? And by the way, they have a great GM there. A great GM.
It came out in a report. Jay Glazer reported it Sunday that Kaepernick was on an island in that locker room and that the players really aren't on his side at all anymore. So very, very, very bad things out there for that California team. And I know you've got another team out there in California, and it's not the other team in the Bay Area, the Raiders. It's the team that the Raiders played this past weekend as your least impressive team.
Yeah, I try to like Phillip Rivers. I really do. I think Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback, but that one year when he throws the most interceptions, I believe in 2012, in the league, and sit there and say he's great, I just don't see it. If you want to talk about how Joe Flacco is loopy and he doesn't have a good system, I think honestly his literally doppelganger is going to be Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, we can all say is a great quarterback, and he really is, Trey. However, they can't stay on the way. And Phillip Rivers did not have a bad game this game. He didn't. He really didn't. And, when you think that they draft players like the great Melvin Gordon, who hasn't performed at all this season, who's been stopped and shut down out of college, which you really can't blame him on, the Chargers do not look impressive, Trey, at all. When you're at the helm of actually, the Jacksonville Jaguars, surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills, and the San Diego Chargers are about the three teams and the St. Louis Rams. It's about leaving, to go to LA. Chargers to sit there and say, we're staying. But why would you stay? You're 2-5 right now. You look absolutely horrid. Now, yes, you catch a break by going and playing the Baltimore Ravens, but you're playing them at home. You beat them at home before, but you always play the Baltimore Ravens hard. So you're actually sitting there talking about be 2-6 this season. Chargers are a playoff team a couple years ago, and they haven't really lost too many people. Trey,
they could have made the playoffs last year. They lose that game to Kansas City the last week of the season, and they missed the playoffs because of it.
And they lost to a backup quarterback in Chase Daniels. Trust me, I watched that game, and I was praying.
I know, because it was the only reason the Ravens made the playoffs last year is because.
But we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and let's not talk about it. And we should have beat the New England Patriots. The Ravens. Sorry, speaking as a fan, I apologize, guys. We're not gonna go back to that. I don't live in the past. I live in the present. The Chargers. I swear, you have the weapons. And you have the weapons.
They do have the weapons. And what's the craziest thing about this, how they absolutely get blown out by the Raiders, is the week before they had a chance to win the game at the end of the game at Green Bay, at Lambeau Field. They had a chance to beat the Packers, and they come out this week and atrocious against the Raiders. So it's
at home, Trey. At home.
Yeah, it's a Jekyll and Hyde thing. And there was a lot of talk before the season of Phillip Rivers not re-signing with the Chargers, becoming a free agent.
Yep.
He did end up re-signing the contract. There was a lot of talk even before the draft that we could possibly see San Diego trade Phillip Rivers to Tennessee for the number 2 pick and draft Marcus Mariota. That never ended up happening. Phillip Rivers, still a very good quarterback. And like you said about Melvin Gordon, a lot of people thought he was going to be impressive, and they got rid of Ryan Matthews. Ryan Matthews leaving and going to Philly because he couldn't stay healthy, and he wasn't the guy that they thought he was going to be out of Fresno State. But Melvin Gordon might be that again. Todd Gurley improving every week and looking great in St. Louis. But could you imagine, though, what LA would have if somehow the Chargers and the Rams are the 2 teams that go to LA and they have those 2 young running backs as stars? Melvin Gordon, we'll see what happens with him. But that could you talked about it last week as teams in LA as far as your future. But hopefully they get a better team in the Chargers than what performed this past week against the Raiders.
And you know what, Trey? You said it. You hit it right there. LA always wants 2. They want 2 of everything. They have the market to bring into, so they want 2. Trey, maybe we look at San Diego, and going to Los Angeles. Also with the Rams becoming 2 teams that are actually Los Angeles teams. Trey, this is great for football. Actually, this win is for football. NFL future. If Al Davis was still here, and I have some ideas, and when we get to Halloween, if Al Davis is still being here, this is what his dream was he wanted. He wanted his team to go, but this is what he wanted, a team in LA. And with throwing this up and Phillip Rivers looking really, really good, bad, like he's always has, it shows that, maybe San Diego is not the market there. The fan base is going to dwindle down now, and they're the executives, they want to make money. And they're going to look at the numbers and be like, listen, we have a losing season. Our numbers are down. Let's go somewhere where the market, even if we have a losing season, the market's still going to be good for us.
Well, honestly, San Diego is not that far from LA. It's about a 2-hour drive. When you're in LA, the local game that you're getting every week, you're seeing every Chargers game. So the LA market is very, very familiar with the Chargers. So I think that is the right choice as a team to move there, because when you talk about St. Louis is such a great sports town that I'd hate to see them lose their football team and go to LA. So if one team,
they lost them before, Trey. They lost them before by the St. Louis Cardinals.
That is true, but I've been to St. Louis multiple times. They're just a great sports town, as we see with the baseball team, the Cardinals, every season. And the Rams are an improving team. So I'd hate to see that city lose that team and then they go perform great in LA. If the Chargers come to LA, it's Southern California still. Those people in San Diego, if they're really diehard fans, they'll take the 2-hour, 3-hour possibly drive in that horrible traffic out there to go see their favorite team. And even the Raiders, with the 49ers being out there in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. So it's not – San Diego is the team. We're talking about them being least impressive right now, but going to LA could be a shot in the arm that team needs going into the future. And they do have Phillip Rivers locked up. So you're going to LA. LA is revolved around star power. You do have that locked up in Phillip Rivers.
And you said it, Trey. I'm going to take too much long on this, but you said it yourself, Trey. The diehard fans, they'll make that 2-hour trip. The same way we took trips to go see the Tropicana, was one of the most horrible stadiums in the National Baseball League. But, when fans are diehard, and I will say I'm a Rays fan because Tampa has been good to me. When your fans are diehard like that, they'll make that trip. And the money is just booming there. So, we'll see what the future holds.
Yes, we will. And we're going to see what the future holds right now as we take a little trip to Saturday night, Halloween. Always one of the best holidays of the year. I always look forward to looking on Facebook and seeing what crazy costumes people come up with. But we're an NFL podcast. So we're going to give you a couple ideas for your hardcore NFL fan. You're going out to a Halloween party this weekend. What should you dress up as? My first pick it's not even going to be for you to dress up as. This is just going to be a suggestion to any of my friends, any listeners that we have out there that have a newborn, that have an infant, 1, 2, 3 years old. If you have a baby, dress them up as an NFL head coach, please, and post it online. Last year, possibly one of the greatest things to ever hit the internet was Andy Reid.
Yeah.
So that is just my suggestion. Whether you're doing Rex Ryan, Chip Kelly, Lovie Smith, whoever, whatever, and Bill Belichick put him in a little hoodie with the sleeves cut off. Just a baby as an NFL coach. It doesn't get any better than that. That is my first NFL Halloween costume.
You know what, Trey? It's funny how we didn't even talk about this in the show. We just said, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do." And when he was talking about that baby, Andy Reid, was hilarious. They had the fake mustache, Trey.
Yeah.
The fake mustache and everything. It was awesome. You know what? I have more of a group kind of dress up. Now, let's put our past caps on and think about how great the Raiders team was in the past. There's a great, tremendous guy in the group. You can have a group of guys that can all fit the Raiders. You got a fat guy, dress him up as John Madden. He can be with the fake toupee on, the kind of Trump kind of toupee going on. Have a head coaching set. You got that guy. Then you can go back as Casper, one of the great wide receiver coaches. There was one time in the season where he wore a mask with like a cheesy smiley face mask. You got that lazy guy in your group, put that on his face. There you go. You got James Casper there. Make sure he's a white guy though. Anyway, then the greatest costume ever. If you're the leader at home that could just think about this costume ideas and go as the 97, the 80s Oakland Raiders when they were a great team at the time, get yourself an Al Davis costume. Back from the dead, baby. It's sexy. It's attractive. We all love The Walking Dead. We all love to bring people back to life. Let's bring back the great Al Davis with the cool man shades on, the swagger that can go with it. I think if you're going as a Halloween costume, you're going to a party as an older adult, do the 80s Oakland Raiders when they were great at the time, and just have the players going on. You have a great team there. You have a great guys. Go have fun. It's gonna be awesome.
That's a good one. I've got two more little ones.
Okay.
NFL running backs. First, I'll go with from here in Tampa Bay. Go as Zombie Doug Martin because he's back from the dead and he's just going crazy. And I mean, before the season, all of the sports stores around here were selling Doug Martin jerseys 50% off.
Oh,
no other jersey. All Doug Martin jerseys everywhere, 50% off. And he has proved that if you bought one of those jerseys, it was a great investment. 3 straight 100-yard games, the best stretch of his career, especially since his rookie season. Zombie Doug Martin, he is back from the dead. That's an easy costume. Just buy one of those 50% off jerseys, paint yourself up like a zombie, perfect, right? Carry a football around. Easy costume, easy fun costume. And my last one is if you can get a hold of some kind of Harry Potter invisibility cloak, something like that, or even just a white sheet or something. An invisibility cloak, just put it on and tell everybody that you're DeMarco Murray. That's all I got.
I'm sorry. Wow. Trey, those are some interesting ones. I think the DeMarco Murray is the best one. Go ahead and put. Go ahead and put a sheet over your head, or a little bag, and say, "Help me, find me, find me."
or get find some big milk carton costume.
Yeah.
Picture of DeMarco Murray on it.
Yes.
There you go. Those are your NFL costumes. Have fun and stay safe this weekend. Yes. On your way there, since we're on iTunes, put it on your phone, plug it into your little auxiliary jack, and listen to us on the way to your Halloween costumes. And maybe you'll get to this part of the show and you'll be like, oh crap, my costume sucks. Let's go to the store and do one of these. That's what you should do. That's what we're looking for there. And that's fun. Now some more fun. Fantasy pick, bet of the week time. Cliff, I'll let you go first. Fantasy pick of the week. We mentioned him earlier in the show. Not in our fantasy league, are you 6-0? I had a horrible week this past week, so I can't even talk anymore. But it's the guy who made you 6-1. And he's in most of the leagues, but a lot of people weren't starting him after a slow start to the season. I know you've got a good fantasy pick for us this week.
Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have a lot of you may have him drafted, but just been benching him week by week because he hasn't looked stellar. However, I'm looking at this, and the Dolphins are clicking on every cylinder. They are 3-3. They're looking great right now. I feel like Lamar Miller is a confident. Don't put him in flex. Start messing running back. Put someone else in flex. Go get some more points. Lamar Miller is looking stellar. I feel like they finally got the we don't want to make Tannehill a passing QB. We'll make him a passing QB when we need him to be a passing QB. Now you can sit there and say Tannehill had 4 touchdowns, but if you actually watch that game, Tannehill wasn't really throwing that ball as often. They were running the ball with Lamar Miller, and he put up a whopping in ESPN, a whopping 35 points. You're looking to actually start somebody to win and get you some points. Lamar Miller's going to do that. Even against New England this week, he's going to put up some points, especially in your PPR leagues. He's going to put some points. So looking at your fantasy pick, Lamar Miller's the way to go. Trey, you've won me money this season, besides 1 week. Now, you picked the team that I just couldn't go against that was going to win me some money. So I actually went to the barbershop, and I bet against you. And I ended up losing $15.
See?
So Trey, you picked the Ravens. The Arizona, fabulous Arizona Cardinals to beat the Ravens, and they did. So Trey, I need some more money in my pockets, man. Fill my pockets up. Like, who you got this week, man? Help me out. I lost $15. I need to get back. I need to get my money back.
So you lost money last week. So this week, I'm going to give you something that you can gain a little bit of money on.
Okay.
And I don't know if everybody's familiar with them. It's called a parlay, where you pick multiple games, you pick multiple teams, and if all of the teams win, you get more money. You win more money that way because you're betting on multiple things. So obviously, there's less odds of all of it happening. But I think all of these things are going to happen. First, the New York Giants. They're underdogs at New Orleans. Yes, New Orleans has performed well the past couple weeks, but I still think the Giants are a better team. JPP coming back as well, signing that contract, getting back on the practice field.
Something to prove.
So that's going to be a great thing when it comes to pass rushing. Who knows what's happening with Victor Cruz still. So the Giants, I believe they're 3-point underdogs at New Orleans. I think they beat New Orleans. So the Giants are my first step in that. Next is going to be the Lions. The Lions in London against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, are a 4.5-point favorite. Kansas City somehow this past week beat a Pittsburgh Steelers team with Landry Jones as the starting quarterback. They're still without Jamal Charles. I think that the passing offense of Detroit can take advantage a little bit of Kansas City, and 4.5-point favorites. So that is my next pick in my parlay. And then finally, something you might think I'm a little crazy about, especially after last week. The last part of my parlay is take the Bucks. They're 7.5-point underdogs at Atlanta. I'll tell you, I'm not saying I'm picking the Bucks to win that game. I think it's going to be a close 7.3-point game. So that is why I'm telling you to take the Bucks in that instance. The Bucks, they had a chance to really break out of that shell and beat the Redskins, go to 3-3, and this game would have meant even more. Atlanta only beat Tennessee 10-7 last week with Zach Mettenberger as their quarterback. So I'll tell you what, I think that this is going to be a close game. So Giants, Lions, Bucks, they all cover those spreads. You're getting some big money there.
Trey, you know what? I've learned not to bet against you. I think you have a solid pick where I can win my money back plus more with the Giants and Saints. I will be picking the Giants, and then I'm going to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to them on that one. They're underdogs right now. So if you pick the Giants to beat the Saints, you're gaining that money. You're getting that money back plus more because, underdog favorites. Kansas City and Lions, I somewhat agree with you there. That's actually a pretty close game that you can win money on. However, Atlanta is coming off an atrocious win and facing the Tennessee Titans, which was boggling to me. And Atlanta hasn't really looked good, even though they only lost one game. They really haven't really looked really good. We can talk about how the Seahawks should have beat them. However, you want me to put my money, my hard-earned money, on the Bucks? At the beginning of the show, we talked about how bad they look. Trey, I don't know, man. I don't want to bet against you, and I don't want the fans to because you had some good picks and you've won money throughout the season. But Trey, come on.
I'm telling you, 7.5 points. I'm not saying that I'm picking the Bucks to win this game. They just have to lose by 7 or less, and you get your money. Atlanta coming off of a loss and then a bad week against Tennessee. The Bucks coming off of they have a bad taste in their mouth. And last year when they went to Atlanta, Thursday night game early in the season, they got ran out of the stadium, an absolute blowout. So the Bucks have a bad taste in their mouth from last week and from that last year when they played in the Georgia Dome. So I think they're going to be ready to play. Not saying that they're going to win the game, saying that it's going to be a close game.
Okay, Trey. What?
Now we're going to get into some games that should be close, and they're our most intriguing games of the week. Cliff, I know you got a good one, and it's actually the first game of the week.
Yeah, it's actually tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Going to keep this quick and simple. This is a rivalry game. This is going to be a good game. This is one of those games that you're going to look at and it's like, who are these teams? And we have a great one this week. Don't look at the standings right now. This is not a standing kind of game. The Miami Dolphins played the Patriots well. I can go back to when Ricky Williams was playing with them, and the Dolphins were a sorry team, and they end up beating New England at home. So this is one of those games that you got to throw the record books out. You have to look about by team. And the Dolphins versus New England Patriots have been great. New England has always come up on top of it as of late. I can go back into it's been a long time since the Dolphins won, but these teams actually go head to head. 33-20 Dolphins, 24-20 Dolphins back in 2013 and 2014. So you got to really look at this. It's like this could be one of those good games. It's a Thursday night primetime game. Both teams coming off of great wins. Trey. And when we get into our picks, I'm going to surprise people. I'm going to tell you right now my pick is going to be, I got Miami winning this one. Miami's looking great. They're looking great. They're clicking on all cylinders. I'm not a Patriots hater. I've said in the show that Patriots are a great team. But they go into Lambeau and not Lambeau. Excuse me, I apologize. They go into Gillette Stadium and come up and pull this win off, Trey. Game of the week. Dolphins versus Patriots. Let's go.
My game of the week is our first really showdown game of the season. We've talked about the past couple weeks. We've looked at these games. Yes, it's the NFL. They're always good games. But we haven't really seen, we have all of these undefeated teams, but we haven't seen any of these teams really go head-to-head. And this weekend, we've got it. Sunday Night Football, NBC, 2 undefeated teams. The Green Bay Packers travel to Denver to face the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning versus Aaron Rodgers. That Denver defense going up against Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay defense going up against Manning and Demaryius Thomas and those guys there. So that one is the game of the week. I don't think you need to look any further than that. Primetime game, 2 undefeated teams. And after that game, we might be seeing one of those teams as the best team in the NFL. So that's the game to watch this week. And now we're going to get into our game picks. Cliff already gave you his prediction on the Thursday night game, first game of the week. He's taking the Dolphins in an upset over the New England Patriots. I'm going to disagree with him. The Dolphins are better, but the game they played last week was against Houston, and Houston is not very good. I believe their only one of the season is against the Bucks. So, Houston is not good.
Hey.
Miami is decent, but they're not going to beat the Patriots. Houston actually has 2 wins this season, not the only one in the season against the Bucs. But New England beats Miami and improves to 7-0 so far this season. So now we're going to get into another game in London, a game I talked about as one of my betting picks of the week in that parlay. Detroit and Kansas City, 9:30 a.m. this weekend. Get to wake up and watch football. I'm going to take Detroit in this. I don't like them to just cover. I like them to beat Kansas City in London.
You know what, Trey? Chiefs aren't playing at Arrowhead, and when they play good, I would get with you as well. I think Detroit goes in and improves. It's their second win in the season, which they should have beat the Seahawks. I apologize. I said earlier that the other team, but Seahawks and Lions were the ones that was going to be the game. Lions go ahead and win at London. Trey, here in the East Coast, fancy East Coast, we wake up to 9:30 football. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great stuff. The fabulous Arizona Cardinals travel to Cleveland to face the Browns. Last I checked, I think Josh McCown is still the starting quarterback for Cleveland. And he was who we thought he was last week. And the fabulous Arizona Cardinals are still fabulous. Arizona wins.
I think we're going to have a Manziel sighting here, Trey. Just what you said. McCall looked hurt. He's coming in. We may have concussion protocol call here. But however, even with Manziel coming in and charging the team, I think Chargers go ahead and win this one. Cardinals come in and win this one easily.
Yes, the fabulous Arizona Cardinals. Manziel having his issues as well, possibly could end up being suspended. So we'll see what happens, what Cleveland could possibly end up doing at quarterback when it comes to that. Now we're going to go an NFC West showdown, San Francisco at St. Louis. Kaepernick is horrible. Todd Gurley just is looking better and better every week. Todd Gurley, another big game. St. Louis beats San Fran.
Could have been my fantasy pick of the week with Todd Gurley. Rams win this one easily.
Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Now, I told you before that I'm not saying the Bucs are going to win, and I'm not saying the Bucs are going to win. Atlanta wins 23-20, and I'm mad the entire night of Sunday again and can't watch SportsCenter on Monday because I don't want to see the highlights of another Bucs close loss. But that's what's going to happen. The Bucs keep it close, but Atlanta's the better team.
Trey, I'll make you feel better a little bit. It's the Georgia Dome. It's really hard to beat Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. It's a great stadium. Falcons win this one easily. Don't feel bad.
The Giants in New Orleans, another game that was part of my betting parlay. Giants win this one. They're underdogs. I think they win straight up. New Orleans has looked good the past couple weeks, getting wins over Atlanta and then against Indy, but the Giants are a better team. Getting JPP back is a big deal. The Giants want to win that NFC East. This is one of those games that they have to have.
New York has been looking stellar. Eli Manning is actually clicking. Odell Beckham is just one of those great wide receivers that we've been missing in the NFL for a long time since Randy Moss. No way Giants lose this game. I got Giants.
Minnesota at Chicago. Minnesota's front four is still looking stellar. They're going to get after Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler might go down with an injury in this game, and we could see a Jimmy Clausen sighting again. Minnesota wins.
Minnesota wins. Just looking stellar. I got the Minnesota win 10 games this year, Trey. So Minnesota wins this one.
I think so too. San Diego at Baltimore. This is a tough one for me. I usually don't like West Coast teams coming east for 1 o'clock games. But I think San Diego, I don't think they're going to fall apart. I think they're going to pull themselves together. And I think the Ravens want the number 1 pick in the draft, as noticed by Cliff Kidwell. The Ravens do not start this 9-game winning streak. I think San Diego wins. I think it's going to be a very close game. This one could go either way. But I'm not being a complete Ravens hater. There was an article this week that came out that said the Ravens are the best, worst team ever. But San Diego, I think, pulls this one out, gets their 3rd one of the season.
You know what? I haven't picked against the Ravens all season this year.
Except for last week.
Except for last week, of course.
But then you went to the barbershop and changed your mind.
And I'm going to say this week, I do not have to go against the Ravens again. I think the Ravens win at home against San Diego, which last year San Diego actually beat them by 1 point at home. I think it's going to be, like you said, one of those close games. The Ravens come with the victory.
NFC North or AFC North showdown. Cincinnati, the undefeated Cincinnati Bengals, go to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers, and Ben Roethlisberger is probably going to be back for this game. But Cincinnati's defense and that pass rush has looked so great. Big Ben coming off of that knee injury. I think Cincinnati wins a big divisional showdown and possibly puts the division away halfway through the season. The Steelers would drop to 4-4, I believe, and Cincinnati would be 7-0. So I'm going Cincinnati.
Again, Cincinnati's looking great. They still go with the undefeated season. I picked against them last week, even though Steelers are looking stellar. Ben Roethlisberger may be coming back for this game, but I think Bengals are overpowered and Bengals win this game.
Tennessee at Houston in a putrid AFC South matchup. Indy still leads that division with how bad the rest of the teams are. Houston looked horrible last week. Tennessee played a close game against Atlanta. Who knows with Marcus Mariota's injury, if he's going to be back or if it's still going to be Mettenberger. But this is a tough one. I'm going to go Houston at home, but I have no idea.
You know what, Trey? I've got to help you with that idea, and we've been reading a lot this week. Houston wins this game. Brian Hoyer had a great game last week, even with a loss. And now Ryan Mallett is not behind him saying, oh, I'm coming for your job. He feels comfortable back. He's getting that comfortability. Hoyer has looked great, Trey. He's looked really, really, really good. So Texans win this game at home, Trey. Give you some comfort there.
Very important game in the AFC wildcard picture, and nobody would have thought that at the beginning of the season. The Jets traveled to Oakland to face the Raiders. Upset pick of the week. Oakland wins at home, beats the Jets.
Trey, I disagree with you. Jets have great wide receivers and a good passing game, which I know as a Ravens fan how bad that can be when Joe Flacco throws over 400 yards against your team. Jets are too strong over there in offense. I got Jets winning this game.
Seattle at Dallas. Dallas is better on the road than they are at home. Seattle going to get back to 500 again. That defense looked great. Des Bryant getting close to returning, but I don't know if he'll be back yet. Seattle beats Dallas.
Cowboys have not won a game without Romo. They will continue not to do so. Seahawks will beat Dallas.
Green Bay at Denver Sunday night. If this was in Lambeau, I might go the other way. This is a rematch of the Super Bowl so many years ago, but I'm going to go Denver's defense. Peyton Manning throws 3 touchdown passes, and Denver beats Green Bay.
He sat there and said, ladies and gentlemen, his upset pick were the Raiders beating the Jets. His upset pick is this one. There's no way. Aaron Rodgers is clicking on every account, Trey. I got Packers, who was my Super Bowl pick. Well, the Ravens, but anyway, Super Bowl pick and go undefeated, still beat the Broncos at home. At Denver, and Packers going to want to win.
Now, you want to talk about upset picks of the week. Monday Night Football.
No, don't do it, Trey.
The undefeated Carolina
Don't do it, Trey.
Host the Indianapolis Colts. And if you want to take a trip in a time machine back to our season preview podcast, which was so large that had to go in 2 parts. My Super Bowl prediction coming out of the NFC was the Seattle Seahawks, but my pick to win the Super Bowl was the Indianapolis Colts. Carolina and Cam Newton with his 27.8 QBR rating catches up to him. Andrew Luck throws for 450 yards on Monday night. I almost went 500. Andrew Luck throws for 450 yards on Monday Night Football. Indianapolis beats Carolina 41-20 in a blowout for Carolina's first loss. Just watch.
Trey, those are one of those predictions. Bold predictions. If you think they will come into Carolina and beat them that bad. Ladies and gentlemen, Trey has forgotten to take his pills this morning, so I apologize. He's drinking some Sunkiss right now, just going off right now, off the mouth. So let me calm you down, bring back Trey back to speed. Carolina 6-0. As unimpressive as Cam Newton has looked, he's found a way to win games, or either flipping into the end zone or actually stretching his long Superman arms for a touchdown. Cam Newton wins this game. The Panthers go undefeated still. And this talks about then getting Steve Smith back, which hurts my heart, but we'll see when that happens. Panthers, undefeated team, looking great, looking stellar. There's no way Colts get this game.
I'm telling you, I'm going out on a limb on some of these games this week. Last week, I told everybody that they could pick games against us. I did set up the league. It's on ESPN there. Pigskin Pick'em, TDEXPN. That is the league. Find us, pick games against us. As always, we want to thank you so much for listening. Keep sending in those name suggestions to change the name of the podcast. The TD Experience Podcast Network NFL podcast is a mouthful, and I get thirsty as I say it, and I can't keep taking a drink every 2 seconds. So help me out. Help get us a shorter name here, and we're going to talk to you next week. Cliff has something. He always gives you a nice parting gift, a nice goodie bag, and he has something good for you today, I know.
And it's funny, Trey, we didn't even talk about this before the show. Trey actually brought it up in the middle of the show, and he said that there's an article out there that's on ESPN. I want you guys to read it and actually get some insight where I'm coming from, where I think the Ravens are still a great team. There's an article on ESPN. Baltimore Ravens are the best, worst team in NFL history. Go back. It's an amazing read. Yes, as a fan, I'm speaking this, but I'm also as an analyst to actually look into the insight of how the Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL to ever come in 20 years in the season. And it goes and breaks it down. Doesn't matter. No one remembers second place, but they go into some intricate details about how even the 49ers, who have 5 Super Bowl wins, are not as good as the Baltimore Ravens. So I actually want you to look at that. Actually look into it, ladies and gentlemen. ESPN.
That's something that the Ravens fans can hold their hat on, being the best, worst team. The best, worst team. That's, that in the world of optimism, that is the ultimate optimism. That is your participation trophy right there. James Harrison does not like that, and he does not like the Ravens. So that's going to do it for this week. Do what we told you. Dress up as NFL-themed Halloween costumes. Dress up as Zombie Doug Martin or the Glory Day Raiders. It's going to be a fun weekend. Go out, stay safe, have fun Saturday night. Come home, wake up early with probably your hangover, but you can cure that by watching Lions and Chiefs from London on Sunday morning. All the games, Green Bay and Denver, start tonight with Miami and New England. Great week of football. We will be back next week, as always. For Cliff, I'm Trey. We're out.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're out.